Namaste everyone, and welcome to today's video on Muni Patanjali's Yoga Sutra 2.9. In this Yoga Sutra, Muni Patanjali is telling us a little bit more about the fifth klesha called Abhinivesha. So let's look at the sutra and then start breaking it up word by word to understand it even better. The sutra itself goes, Swara Savahi Vidushopi Tatharudo Bhiniveshaha. Alright, so now since we've heard the sutra, let's start breaking it up step by step. The first word over here is Swara Savahi, and this is made up of many smaller words within it. So if you look at it carefully, Swa refers to own self, Rasa over here is referring to one's own life force, and Savahi or Vahi over here refers to your own channel or channeling. So it's referring to your own ability to channel the life force or propelling your own life force. After that, we come to the next two words, which is Vidush and Vidushopi. So here we're talking about Vidushi, which means learned or somebody that is very knowledgeable. Api over here means also. Then we come to the next word, which is Tatha, which means in that or also in that. And Rudha or Arudha over here, as we hear the sound, refers to something that is ridden or mounted. And finally, the last word, of course, over here is Abhinivesha, which refers to the will to live or the fear of death. So now let's get into understanding this entire sutra a little bit better. The sutra itself is explaining to us that Abhinivesha is such a force that exists within all our life systems. And I'm sure you can relate to this. Each one of us, for the maintenance of our bodies and for the maintenance of this life, will do anything to take care of our own bodies. And if anything is going to harm us, immediately there is a defense mechanism that comes up, whether physically or mentally, to save ourselves from that harm. And this is an automatic life maintenance mechanism that all of us have within us. And so the sutra is saying that whether it's a learned person or whether it's somebody that's not very well versed with the scriptures and with the understanding of life and death, both ways, both people suffer from this element of the fear of death and the very strong will to live. So now we have to start understanding, why is this a pain point? Well, it becomes a pain point because, like Muni Patanjali has explained, the attachment or the clinging to anything eventually will bring us pain. And as we know, death is the only surety that we all have in our lives. If we're born, we're sure to die. It's only about when and in what circumstances. And that's a question that none of us, or at least most of us, are not able to answer. So knowing that death will come at some point helps us to realize how small we are in the grand scheme of things, and also to realize our own mortality in this life form. We know that we may have many more life forms or lifetimes, but in this particular body, in this particular way, we have a limited amount of time. And so to keep doing our best given that amount of time becomes really important. But what happens with most of us is we cling to it. We try to make sure that this life lasts as long as perhaps possible for us. And because of that, we get really attached to it. And that attachment makes it so difficult for us to move on and to go into the next realm after death. And that's why here Muni Patanjali is explaining that this fear of death and this deep clinging to this lifetime is what makes us so, what gives us so much pain over a long period of time. And that's why it's important to be a little bit careful. It's, of course, we're supposed to do our duty. We're supposed to joyfully live our lives. But when the time comes to leave, it also has to be a joyful leaving or a joyful passing. And that is why it's so important to start understanding who we are from an early stage so that we don't have this tendency to cling to life. Although Muni Patanjali here has stated that no matter how learned you are or how not well versed you are with the scriptures, irrespective, at a particular point of time, when you're faced with death or a very serious circumstance, it's very natural to want to cling to life. And all of us do that. I mean, even when we say, when we're at a height If you're at a height and you feel like you're going to fall off, immediately there's this kind of self-protection that grips you in a way, and you start wanting to protect your body and yourself. And that's natural. It's very difficult to say that, stand at the edge of a cliff and get over your fear of death. It's very difficult to say that. But at the end of the day, Muni Patanjali classifies this as a pain point and has helped us to recognize that over time, the more we fear death, the more painful it will be for us. So if we can pass away, or whenever that moment of death comes, if we can still be joyful, then at least we will continue that joyful impact into the next lifetime. And this is something also that Sadhguru actually says in one of his books about death, which I read a while back. And he explained how even at the moment of death, if you can be joyful, then, when you are moving over to the next realm, it will be much easier to pass on. And he'd also explained how that can only happen if you're joyful while living. If you live a joyful life, then the moment of death will be no different from how you've been living the rest of your life. So that is a little bit about the fear of death and the will to live as explained in Patanjali Yoga Sutras. I hope this sutra has been easy to understand for you. I hope that you continue to read the Yoga Sutras and understand it even further. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and also please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, take care, keep practicing, and we're going to see you very soon. Namaste.